Coming out of 2023, I was saying to myself that we had just had an all-timer year for video games. There was Baldur's Gate 3, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Alan Wake 2, Spider-Man 2, Armored Core 6, and a brand new 2D Super Mario. We even got some unknown developers deliver absolute bangers like Lies of P, Cocoon, and Dave the Diver. This is something that comes so few and far between. We could hark back to 2017 or 2007, but whichever year sticks for you, there is one constant. And that is the gap between them. After this banger year, just 2 years later, we have not only another one, but one I personally think is even better and might even potentially be the best year we've ever had for video games. I'm being deadly serious. This video is my official 2025 Game of the Year. These are my definitive top 10 greatest experiences from January through to December, but I would be lying to you if I said that this wasn't a tough decision. I could easily have put 20 games on this top 10, but alas, I have whittled it down to 10. As always with these videos, I am only one person, so I have not played every single game that has come out this year. I will make my most notable omissions known at the top, so it is clear to everyone. If you enjoy this video and want to support the channel, then please consider leaving a like and subscribe, or if you don't like it, then leave a thumbs down and let me know how I can be better for you. With the housekeeping out the way, let's get into the omissions. The most notable games that I have not played this year are Death Stranding 2, Blueprints, and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Other things to note is that I will not be including DLCs, expansions, remakes, or part completed games. Whilst I have included these in the past, there are far too many games this year to also have these in the conversation. That includes Deltarune for full clarity. I think that covers everything, so let's waste no more time and get straight into the list. In 10th place, South of Midnight, developed by Compulsion Games. South of Midnight is one of those special gems that doubles as a love letter to its inspiration. Set in the deep south, this game follows Hazel as she sets out on a search to find her mum but stumbles upon the dark truths that surround the other people in her life. The way this story is told is through the legends and mythos of this setting, in which Hazel learns she is a weaver and can wield the magic associated with that. There are grand boss fights with legendary figures, fun traversal sections using her weaving powers, heavy emotional storytelling, and a soundtrack that is so amazing I had to buy it separately. South of Midnight is also created in a stop motion art style which I think complements the background, but you can also turn it off if it's not for you. I was moved by this game's story. It has great pacing with its twists and turns. Each main area of the game has a significant emotional beat you are trying to uncover, as Hazel's aim is to weave the pain away. It definitely doesn't hold any punches though, as some of these beats are truly horrible and it's hard not to feel impacted by the narrative. I love a game that has something to say with its story, and I also had a lot of fun playing it, so it comes as no surprise to me that it makes it onto this top 10 list. In 9th place, Hollow Knight Silksong, developed by Team Cherry. It's been 7 long years since this game was announced, and many were going delirious about its release date. It has been rumoured to be at every gaming event of the last 2 years, as well as being the subject of countless Silk posts. It released in September, 2 weeks after the announcement video from Team Cherry, which was great to see them doing it on their own terms. The product we got was a great but incredibly tough Metroidvania. The craftsmanship in this game is exceptional. Every movement has to be particular, and there is little margin for error. You'll be spending a lot of time learning combat encounters and platforming sections because you will be there a while, but it does give you that real big hit of euphoria when you finally come out on top. The art style and audio are excellent too. I was playing this on my Switch 2 and it looked incredible in both handheld and docked mode. The amount of content here for a cheaper indie title is Silksong's greatest achievement. You can roll the first set of credits at Act 2, which took me 40 hours on its own, but then there is a whole Act 3 with a true ending, which could easily double that time depending on how long I took in boss fights. That is an unbelievable amount of content for a $20 title. There is build variety with the different crests you can discover and a load of different tools to bolster your combat prowess. Silksong is also very obtuse, which is similar to From Software titles. You need to buy map fragments, you need to have an item equipped to see your position on the map, characters randomly appear in places across the world as part of their side quests, and missions are barely explained. I am used to this style as I love Souls-likes, and I did think it was implemented well in this game, earning it its place on this list. In 8th place, Avowed, developed by Obsidian Entertainment. This game for me cemented how much more I love fantasy settings than sci-fi, as I enjoyed Avowed far more than The Outer Worlds 2. Set in the Pillars of Eternity universe, you play as the Envoy, a godlike sent on a mission to the Living Lands to investigate the Dream Scourge, a new plague. What captured me straight away with Avowed was the world, not just the bright pop of colour everywhere, but the lore, the kooky characters and the exploration. This game has in-dialogue lore explanation which allows you to define words particular to this world and learn what they mean. I was very invested in everything going on. On top of all of the above, Obsidian managed to achieve fun and great feeling first-person melee combat and traversal. While you can switch to third person, I never felt the need to because I loved how it felt in first person. The side quests can go down some real rabbit holes and go much further than the boring open world fetch quests. There was one where a guy was trying to transfer his soul into a giant robot after murdering loads of people, and it was just completely insane, but I got a pretty awesome sword from it. Speaking of that awesome sword, there are many unique and viable weapons. You can use wands, spell tomes, pistols, rifles, swords, axes, and a whole slew of melee weapons. Of course, this will vary in effectiveness depending on your stat spreads, but there is so much choice. I personally love the wand and gun combo in my primary slot, and a sword and tome in my secondary slot. The weapons are part of the reason as to why the exploration is so good, as you always feel rewarded. The story has a handful of different endings and your narrative choices throughout the game do hold weight. This even has Obsidian's trademark outcome where it is possible to make all your companions hate you and leave, which is just hilarious. In summary, Avowed holds a special place in my heart this year for being that high fantasy RPG that filled me with so much enjoyment. And while it is not the highest RPG on this list, it definitely deserves to be on it. In 7th place, Split Fiction, developed by Hazelight. This developer is once again showing their hand as the best studio for co-op experiences. They have learned a lot from their previous titles A Way Out and It Takes Two, and have incorporated them into this new title. Split Fiction follows two writers, Zoe and Mio, who get trapped in their stories due to some corporate greed. One of them is a fantasy writer and one of them is a sci-fi writer, so the gameplay has you constantly switching between those two worlds. The thing that makes Hazelight the best at these experiences is the constant switching of gameplay mechanics. You are never doing the same thing for too long. Just before something begins to outstay its welcome, you are quickly pulled to the next playstyle. This could be perspective changes too, and a lot of time will alternate between genres. These games are truly their own thing and hard to pin down into a category outside of this. Split Fiction does go that little bit further than its predecessors by doing the world change between fantasy and sci-fi, and this culminates in one of the best endings of a video game that I can remember. In the same fashion as the other Hazelight titles, this game comes with a companion pass, so only one person needs to have purchased the game, the other player can play for free. Split Fiction is amazing, just like It Takes Two and A Way Out before it. If you have another person to play with, whether that be local or online co-op, look no further than this. In 6th place, Ghost of Yotei, developed by Sucker Punch. I played Ghost of Tsushima last year just to get ready for this game releasing in October. Tsushima is great and Yotei is even better. It truly is a samurai epic. Everything about this game is cinematic, whether it be the cutscenes, combat, or even the black bars that come across when you ride your horse. Don't mistake this as meaning it lacks gameplay though, because it doesn't. It weaves the two elements together. Everything is so stylish and incredibly fun at the same time. Yotei makes big strides to refine its open world to have less bloat than the first title. It also has a more enjoyable story and stance system. The story is a revenge plot that sees protagonist Atsu go on a murderous quest to kill the Yotei 6, who slaughtered her family and almost her too. Atsu is a badass and fits the differing playstyles more than Jin does. The stance system is replaced with different weapon types, which turn the combat from being a bit tedious to more streamlined. The open world is absolutely gorgeous and is without doubt one of the best looking games this generation, especially with its environments. The music is inspired and you have many instances to engage with it in the game. I loved all of the authentic nods Sucker Punch incorporated into this title. Yotei is emotional, artistic, fun, and beautiful. It is easily one of the best games I played in 2025. In 5th place, Silent Hill F, developed by Neobards Entertainment in association with Konami. Silent Hill F is the first Silent Hill game I have ever played. The originals just passed me by in my younger age, but as I've grown up, I've really fallen in love with survival horrors. This title seemed like a good place to start, as it is the first one not set in the location of Silent Hill. Instead, it is set in a small Japanese town in the 1960s. We play as high schooler Hinako, who is just hanging out with her friends when the fog starts to roll in and the horrors quickly follow. The gameplay is the common survival horror feel of tense exploration mixed with puzzle solving, but there is a full combat system here where Hinako can fight back. It is entirely melee orientated and you can do light attacks, heavy attacks, small dodges and even a parry. The combat is definitely not the best, but it honestly isn't bad at all and I was pretty good at it by the end. Where Silent Hill F shines brightest is with its story. Hinako's personal narrative unravels as the game goes on and it gets really dark with many twists and turns. It isn't simply friends becoming foes or school bullying or anything like that. It actually touches on the deep societal problems in Japan at the time and we even see now to some degree. It is powerful and honestly unexpected to come from this game. There are many endings to this like any Silent Hill game, but with each playthrough the narrative opens up and you get to see new cutscenes which slowly peel away at the true story. That made this title special and I completed it 4 times because I loved it so much. I think it fits nicely here in the top 5. In 4th place, Donkey Kong Bonanza, developed by Nintendo EPD. Most people thought the flagship single-player experience for the release of the Switch 2 would be a 3D Mario platformer, a successor to Super Mario Odyssey, which released in the launch year of the Switch 1. Well, we got the same development team, but instead of Mario, we got Donkey Kong. Bonanza is a completely new look at the Donkey Kong character, playing a seemingly younger and more heroic Kong, accompanied by a child Pauline, who we also saw grown up in New Donk City in Super Mario Odyssey. Don't try and connect the dots too much though, as Nintendo's lore will always leave you scratching your head. Bonanza is a 3D platformer, but because we play as a great ape rather than a small Italian man, it does feel like a completely different experience. Most notably are the destruction mechanics. You can punch and ground pound your way through almost everything in this game. Don't want to take the long way around? Just punch your way straight through the wall. Can't figure out how to get lower down? Just punch your way through the ground. This kind of terraforming isn't new to games, but it is on such a grand scale and feels so good at the same time that it really instills that sense of player freedom. You can even incorporate the destruction into combat and traversal, as you can tear a chunk out the scenery and throw it at your enemies, or even jump on it to surf over tough terrain. This game is just fantastic. To make the journey even more enjoyable, there are skill trees with unlockable moves, many cosmetic options for DK and Pauline, Zelda-like shrines filled with challenges, hundreds of banana gems to collect for various rewards, and then the special powers called Bonanza transformations. There are 5 of these to get and you unlock them across various stages of the story. They transform DK into these powerful beings where you unlock new movesets to help with combat and traversal. There's one that runs super fast, one that is super strong, and one that can glide, for example. These are utilized great throughout, but where I enjoyed them the most was in the endgame, where you get challenge rooms to really put these powers to the test. Bonanza's greatness doesn't end there though, as it also has a heartwarming story, awesome characters, amazing level design, superb music, and an ending that makes it all feel even better. I am high on this title and it really deserves it, but even this high quality couldn't make it into the top 3, falling just short at number 4. In 3rd place, Hades 2, developed by Supergiant. This title is the game that I have most recently completed on this whole list. Don't be fooled into thinking this is recency bias though, as it absolutely isn't. The first Hades was a game that I picked up back in COVID times, but it never stuck with me straight off the bat and I dropped it quite early on. Fast forward a couple of years to 2023 where I picked it up again and I completely adored it. I loved the roguelike progression, which felt more rewarding than the other games in this genre. It is very gradual and you will be doing the same run over and over, but it did feel like you were so close every time and I always wanted to go for another. Hades 2 takes all of the first game's qualities and makes them better. There are better weapons, better combat animations, better boons to earn each run, more fleshed out characters who honestly never run out of new dialogue even 40 hours in, and a slew of new upgrade systems. You can upgrade your weapons, your companions, your arcana buffs, your talismans, even the various locations themselves at your Witch's Cauldron. Not to mention there are 2 paths to run this time, rather than 1, with different bosses on each. The amount of content packed into this title is mind-blowing, it never seems to end. None of it is boring to interact with, and I honestly can't get enough of it. We play as Melinoe in this game, who is daughter of Hades and sister of Zagreus, who is the protagonist in the first game. Melinoe was raised as a witch in the Crossroads Coven, and so her moveset is vastly different to that of Zagreus. This time round, your cast forms a binding circle, which you can find many buffs for, and I like this far more than the cast from the first title, which I hardly interacted with at all. There's a reason why Hades 2 is the highest rated game on the biggest critic sites. It is a wonderful, content-rich title which provides endless fun. I'm still playing it now, and I'm sure I will continue to do so at points throughout 2026. Even with how good it is, there were 2 games that I thought were even better this year. Before I jump into the top 2, I have to talk about some honorable mentions. The titles that were just missed off the top 10 and those that were excluded altogether. I guess it makes sense to start with these exclusions. As I said at the top, due to this year being so heavy with amazing releases, I have not included expansions, remakes, or part completed games. However, some of the games I include in this bracket were in and amongst my best experiences of the year. Lies of P Overture and Indiana Jones The Order of Giants are both the first story expansions of 2 games I love. Overture follows Lies of P's remarkable level of quality action RPG combat. It's extraordinarily close to the masters from Software. It has several new bosses which are hard but fair, a handful of new areas to explore, and many additions to its fantastic weapon crafting system. The Order of Giants, in a similar fashion, follows on from the Great Circle's excellent adventure puzzle gameplay, as well as weaving a new story mystery into its setting. Never has a game felt more like being in Indiana Jones's shoes, as an archaeologist first and an action hero considerably further down the list. Both these expansions received a 9 out of 10 for me in review. On the remake side of things was Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, which is a partial remake of one of my favourite childhood games. This features gorgeous new graphics and animations amongst other small additions, whilst at the same time whisking me back to all the gory action I adored almost 20 years ago. I still think there's no other game that has so many viable weapon choices that are fun to use. Lastly for the exclusions is Deltarune Chapters 1 to 4. The reason for its exclusion is simply because it isn't a full game, but the way that the first 4 chapters are shaping up, it could generally be an all-time great. It leans more onto the RPG side than Undertale, but somehow it has taken all its unique and creative mechanics and made them even more impressive. Developer Toby Fox has mentioned that Chapter 5 is on track for a 2026 release, and I can't wait. Now for the games that just missed out on the top 10 honors. There were so many this year just floating around outside the number 10 spot and could have made it on had I a slightly different mood at the time of writing. Shinobi Art of Vengeance I'm sure would make it on many top 10 lists, and it's hard to disagree with how stylish and smooth it feels to play. Lizard Cube continue to show their class with this title, and it is exciting to see Sega continue their revival of recent years. Sword of the Sea is another one that could have made it on the list with its amazing visuals and audio, combined with fun traversal and satisfying puzzles. This game is the true meaning of short and sweet. Next up is Elden Ring Night Rain. Being a huge From Software fan, I couldn't help but feel slightly disappointed that the next game to follow Elden Ring and Armored Core 6 would be a 3-person co-op title, as that couldn't be further from my type of game. I was completely wrong, and how dare I ever question these geniuses. Night Rain is really cool, and I had a blast playing it. I never played with people I knew, and I still had a great time. I can't imagine how much better it would have been with people I knew. They just have this combat locked down, it is so good, and the boss fights are such a spectacle. Night Rain rules. Next is a game I couldn't do a Game of the Year video without mentioning. A game that is an 8 out of 10 that I love like a 10 out of 10, and that is Lost Records Bloom and Rage. I was enamored by this game in the first half of 2025. These narrative, decision-heavy, story-driven games are completely my bag, and this one was from Don't Nod themselves. While I agree it wasn't the best story, I was so invested in the characters and their relationships, I played it several times and scoured every bit of lore and information I could find. I do hope Don't Nod get to continue this franchise and build upon feedback to make bigger strides, as I see so much potential here. And last, in what I would call my number 11 spot, the game that was closest to making it on the list is The Alters. This was probably my biggest surprise of the year for 2 reasons. First, I did not like the previews and wasn't planning on picking it up, and second, it is not my genre of game. The Alters blends its survival strategy elements into its story so well, and there were times where I couldn't put the controller down. There is such amazing writing here, as well as variations in playthrough, that such incredible discussions could be had. The moral and existential questions this title demands that you answer are next level. The Alters is a great game and my number 11. You should go and play it. Okay, now it's time to get into the top 2. This was not a hard decision, as these were easily the best 2 games I played in 2025. I scored both of these titles a whopping 10 out of 10 in their respective reviews, but there is one that edged it over the other. In second place, Dispatch, developed by Ad Hoc Studio. This developer is made up of former Telltale alumni, and Dispatch follows this formula to a T. It is an episodically released story-driven game that has multiple endings and romance options based on the choices you make along the way. It is in the style of a superhero workplace comedy where you play as former hero Robert Robertson, who is effectively the Iron Man of this universe, who now no longer has his mech suit. In other words, you are just a normal dude with no powers, but are constantly rubbing shoulders with heroes and villains alike. In his superhero sabbatical, Robert signs on to be a dispatcher at a superhero dispatch center, where he can send heroes out to help the public with their distress calls. That is the premise, and what follows is a hilarious but emotional story of friendship, personal growth, and morals. Every single character in this game is amazing, from your ragtag crew of degenerates, to your goofy boss, to your grandpa best friend. It feels so whole and heartwarming, like a family that rises to take on the world. Not to mention how perfectly voiced they all are. Dispatch not only makes you feel alive in its universe, but it moves at such a great pace that you never feel like you want to leave. It is snappy and always swiftly moving on to the next beat, keeping you entertained from one big story moment to the next. The episodic release structure has been done so poorly before, but with a tight 2 episodes per week, it was the perfect schedule for those water cooler moments. The ending of episode 6 had me reeling for the whole week. I could not stop thinking about it. What makes Dispatch slightly better than these other Telltale style games is that it actually has gameplay as a main mechanic with the dispatching. This is a sort of real-time strategy that also works narratively with the world. I could sink a lot of time into the dispatching alone because I love trying to work out who was best to send in any given call and replay to get perfect runs and synergies. After my earlier monologue about lost records and my adoration of narrative games, I'm sure it comes as no surprise to anyone that Dispatch would be so high on my list. I can't wait to see if Ad Hoc do deliver on the rumors of a season 2, as I think this universe needs to be explored further. This was not the best game I played this year though, it was the runner-up, because the best game I played was, in first place, Clair Obscur Expedition 33, developed by Sandfall Interactive. I know this game seems to be the one popping up as number 1 on every outlet's list, but don't mistake this as boring or following the trend. It should be celebrated. I can say without any doubt in my mind that Expedition 33 is a generational game and has now entered my top 5 games of all time. What Sandfall Interactive have achieved with this title is nothing short of a masterpiece. It's the easiest 10 out of 10 I've ever given, and I've not given many. Even when we first saw this show up at some Xbox Summer Showcase a couple of years ago, it captured people's attention because it looked awesome. The game didn't disappoint on release, as I think it far exceeded anyone's expectations. The story setup is so incredibly unique and emotionally devastating that I was all in from the opening sequence. It is set in a world where a mysterious evil entity called the Paintress exists, and each year will paint a number upon a monolith. If you are that age or older, you will die in an event called the Gamage, which sees you disappear out of existence in a flutter of flower petals. The game doesn't hold back on this premise, and you experience it straight away. I have never felt so gut-punched in the first hour of playing anything. Every year after the Gamage, an expedition sets out with the aim to try and take down the Paintress. This group usually consists of those who are at an age that would be affected by the next Gamage, effectively those considered to be in their last year of life. This is Expedition 33, those who are aiming to take down the Paintress before she paints 32 upon the monolith. The story is bleak, yes, but the characters, voice work and world make this experience one that is so powerful and emotionally impactful. It's not a world I want to live in by any means, but I was crying, I was laughing, and I was desperately trying to save these poor people who are subject to such a terrible life. The gameplay itself is also fantastic, taking a lot of inspiration from JRPGs with turn-based combat and a stat leveling system. There are dodges and parries to make the combat more interactive, and it feels amazing. There are deep buff systems with the Lumos and Pictos to make some godlike builds, especially with Mael. There is loads of side content and hidden difficult bosses. They even included an overworld map that we could walk across, something so many games have cut out in the modern era. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is one of the best games I have ever played, and it is the best game I played in 2025. It is my game of the year. Thanks to everyone who joined this community in 2025, and I really hope you loved the content. Please leave a like and subscribe to show your support. We're now in 2026 and there seems to be some great games on the horizon. Expect plenty more reviews from me, as well as spoiler casts and game showcase breakdowns. For the rest of January, you can expect reviews for Unbeatable and possibly one other, as well as a breakdown of the Xbox Developer Direct in a couple of weeks. As always, at the end of the month, I will upload the release calendar video looking at all upcoming releases of the following month. I do love doing those. That's my 2025 Game of the Year video done, but I played a lot of games in 2025, 39 to be exact, and I scored every single one of them. Go check out that video if you want to see how they all did. Please let me know in the comments below what your Game of the Year was, and for everything else, Casual Gamer, keep it here. Peace and love.